Well, this is our Ghana month on Love 99.5. So welcome the month of March. This one is from Pabubu. He calls this one Asobroche. Let me add the doctor. He's Dr. Pabubu. Well, I'm sure you're enjoying that very song. What about this one? When you speak to many people out there who are above the age of 40 or 45 or 50, they will tell you, well, this is music. But what they listen to,
people called Ghanaians. So what makes us Ghanaians?
You tell me. What makes us Ghanaians? When we say Ghana or Ghanaian, what should come to the mind of any person who hears it?
It's like I was walking somewhere in Euston, London, and then somebody pulled up and just asked, "We are Ghanaian." I turned. I said, "Yeah." The same way. I mean, you travel outside, it occurs to you. So, what is this thing unique about you that somebody will just look at you and then say that we are Ghanaian, or excuse me, are you from Ghana? There is something about you. It's unique. It makes you stand out.
Now, what is that thing?
Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about.
The identity and
very
stuff
good.
like that.
So then we have to approach it by looking at what is culture.
So before we get to that bit of what culture is, what identity, stuff like that are, some have said that we're losing our identity as a people, as Ghanaians. Others are saying that we've lost it. Where do you stand? Are we losing it or we've lost it?
No, I think we are not losing it per se. Culture is dynamic.
Yeah, it is.
Let me come in this way. There is a cultural theorist called Greg Urban, and then he explains how culture moves around. But when we're talking about the movement of culture, we talk about the diachronic movement, that is a historical aspect of it, and then the synchronic movement, how it moves around. And then he discusses both diachronic and then synchronic. And this is what he's got to say. He says that culture is always a context, and then time is moving, and the context is like you get to one particular station. But when the train moves to another, document this and document that and that sort of thing, hardly would you get any of these discourses or any of these discussions bringing in a cultural aspect, bringing in a sociologist, bringing in a psychologist.
Doesn't it depend on the subject on the table for discussion?
Yeah, it's because we've restricted everything to law and that sort of thing. So we don't get that latitude. It's not broad enough.
Okay.
But you see, our discourses must be broad, like you are saying, because we all have our own approach of looking at things. And I believe in plurality. If this person can bring this and that person can bring that and the other, we put them, then it becomes a potpourri of ideas. But over here, we don't do that.
All right, so but back to my the main conversation.
Yes.
Do we appreciate who we are?
Oh, not anymore. You see, there's a reason for it. Not anymore. At least with our youth, having been a lecturer for some time, I know what I'm talking about.
And I forgot to add, he's a lecturer with the KNUST.
Yes.
He belongs to the English department.
Yes.
So we're listening to very good English from him this afternoon. Are we?
Not anymore.
We don't appreciate who we are.
Yeah, because of the kind of pictures that we've been watching, and because of the kind of influence that is coming from the West, because of the suggestions, because of the influence that are imposed upon our kids through the media, through what we call the looking tube. Yeah, in culture we call it looking tube. The looking tube is the television, is the internet, is the WhatsApp or whatever, you see. And then There's a whole theory on that, but
I think that we're live in Sunyani on Parrot 99.7. So to all our listeners listening to us on Parrot 99.7, we appreciate your time as always. We say good afternoon to you. How proud are you of the culture you have? How proud are you to be a Ghanaian? And do you fancy the local meals more than that of the foreign foods? Do you fancy the local music more than the foreign music? Let's hear from you as well as you listen to us all the way in Sunyani. We're grateful for you tuning in. So let's for example,
let me give this example.
Please do.
Farming. See, when you go to the school and then the student is punished, is made to weed. And so to the students it's a symbol of punishment. Number two, anything connected with farming is supposed to be village. So right there they call it a foam, a crassi, isn't it?
Yeah.
Number three, look at the very pictures that we even show to our children when it comes to farming. You see, when we're advertising, you see some man be with you understand?
Some tattered clothing.
Very, very good.
Like somebody who's poor.
Very good. So we don't give the right type of image. And when they grow up, you say they should become farmers. We've lost it.
But now, many have gone to the university, have studied Greek engineering.
How many of them practice it?
Well, that's another question to be answered. But let's take a look at the Ghanaian and our music. What do you make of the music we have these days as compared to the Pabobos, the Ramblers, and it's a conversation, Doc. Dr. Peter Arthur.
I'll take you through history.
Take us through history. We want to appreciate the music of before, yesteryears, and music of now.
Yeah. I'll take you through history.
And listeners, if there's anything, as he presents his case, if I may put it that way, if there's anything you want to have some more questions on, you can call us later when we activate the phone lines and hear from him.
You see that when we were struggling for independence, Nkrumah had recourse to all this, including music. Nkrumah called Nketia. They went to a party called Nketia, pulled him aside and said, let us construct African classics. And that is how come Nketia wrote a lot about the African culture. Invited Ifwa Sutherland. Let us have African classics. And that is how Ifwa Sutherland developed an Ansegur and it became very popular. Now it's being studied outside. What Nkrumah did was that he used almost everything to create what we call the African personality. And High Life was a major agent for African personality at that time when we were struggling for independence. So over West Africa, when we were struggling, the others were struggling. The ETs and the Ramblers and that sort of thing, they played music of dignity. I'm not lying.
They played music of dignity.
It was music of dignity. And the Togolese copied it, the Nigerians copied it, the Cameroonians copied it and called it Makossa. If you have heard of Makossa,
I have heard of Makossa.
It even went to Congo and they call it Sukus. It came from Ghana. They copied it because of the dignity Nkrumah was trying to. So you have Ifwa Sutherland who had a Bibi Groma, a Kusuma Kromba, and then do you know what was happening? She was trying to spread culture from the urban to the villages. So Nkrumah wanted us to dress in a particular way. So they would send those concert party people, and then on stage, that is how they would dress. And it caught on with the people, so they developed interest in local fabrics. And that is how come our Kosomo textiles was patronized. That's how come Japan textiles was patronized, and all the other textiles were patronized. So through concert party, the ideas were sold to them. Through concert party, the Ghanaian was told how to dress, surkaba, and then foam slits. And then these concert men were trying to show them how they could walk in them and all that. All right, do you have that these days?
Not as maybe it was some years ago.
We don't have them.
No, but we still have some women who put on the kaba and sleep.
No. It's because those days they were a symbol of independence. So then everybody jumped onto the bandwagon, and everybody was wearing them.
Okay.
And today we don't have that type of philosophy. We don't have that type of ideology. It was an ideology behind whatever that we were doing.
So are we talking now about the music or the clothing? Because I want us to look at three key things before we wrap up.
The music was
so if we're talking about the clothing, so at least I can stick to it for a while.
Okay.
So now you're talking about the kaba and slit and how people. So how did we lose it? Because for now, like you were saying, we hardly see women dressed like that.
That's why I said I'm taking you through history.
Yes,
you see, when the coup occurred, then that kind of philosophy and that kind of ideology broke down. Those who came were not conscious of building a group of people for a particular identity, because a lot of them were being controlled outside. You and I know that it was the CIA which organized the coup, so they were controlling things. And then you and I know that after that, Ghana has never been the same. So we as a group of people have never been able to organize ourselves, put ourselves together to decide that we as a group of people want to go this direction. That has been our problem.
No, so I asked as to why it is so. Is it so because we don't appreciate what it is that it will do for us, or we simply are ignorant about it?
Circumstances, my dear, circumstances. Because when the West came in, they started bombarding us with their images, and of course that is what makes us buy what they produce. So we make them rich, and of course that is part of their idea of always controlling our mind. We buy what they, and that we don't produce and then buy them ourselves. We just produce the raw material, and then it's part of their ideology. But unfortunately, we as a group of people have never been able to identify that, no, hold on, perhaps we are going too much, and then it's time we started looking at how we are going to construct ourselves as a group of people. That has been the idea. So from Nkrumah time, whether it is music, whether it is any form of arts, we haven't had that type of cultural identity. No, it's been like, let's do whatever. And then they also capitalize on it and bombard us with the images.
Okay, so next question would be this: will they allow us?
You see, it's a tough question. You see, this world, nobody would allow you to do what you want to do, but you will have to force to do what you want to do. In fact, I was going to talk something about Anansi, but I will drop it for a while. Because in Anansi will come to you. It's not that he's a trickster, but he will force you to think, and if you fail to think, you will pay for it. That is how the world is. This is a capitalist world, and in a capitalist world, it's each one for himself and God for us all.
Because you talked about Nkrumah and the CIA behind the coup and stuff like that, and it could be that things that he was championing were things that would make them lose money and not be as strong a nation as they aspire to be. So therefore, let's take him away from there. Let's put somebody there who would dance to our tunes.
And it has ever been so. Look at the way we go and borrow. Look at the way we receive grants. Look at the way we interact with them. Look at the way they call us for summits and all that. And you think we go there for our interests? Listen, they are careful planners, and there are a lot of things that we take for granted, but they have planned minutely and they know exactly what they are getting from it. So to come back to your question, when we are not interested in our arts, something like our textiles, something like our music, when it comes to our music, for example, our soundscape, our sound scope, not only soundscape but sound scope and all that, we are taking them for granted. All right, so all that they do is to bombard us with theirs, create the taste in us, and as they create the taste in us, it sort of engulfs our mind, and then all that they have is what we appreciate.
But isn't it again the issue or the fact that maybe theirs is nicer, theirs is better? And so let's take it one after the other. Like I said, because of time, we'll take it from three angles. Let's look at music. Now, I just played some music from Dr. Pabobo, and of course you were excited about it. And there are all others. This morning I was playing something from the Ramblers, you know, and there's the E.T. Mains and many other artists that have come by, and those were songs that we used to listen to before. But now you realize that culture, like you said, is dynamic, which of course I agree. And so we have transmogrified, if I borrowed the word
from
Chemesa. And once we've transmogrified, we've looked at their song, and we think that theirs is nicer. And so therefore we've done some infusion. So now we don't have a typical high life anymore. And when the typical high life songs are being played, how many of us would even patronize it or appreciate it? But we like the ging, the rap and all that. Isn't that what it is now?
You see, David, it goes back to the ideology I was talking about. You know what? The US has succeeded in spreading hip-hop all over the world. And for your information, hip-hop played a lot of role in the Arab Spring. Yes, you just go and check. It's all over. Even the Arabs have taken them up. How were they able to do that? Money, technology. They always have super technology. Now, I wish you could play like you played Osoboche, and then you play another Western music, and then you see how refined the sound that is coming from that end, because they take their time and they invest a lot of money. And then when it comes to sound treatment, they take their time and make it better. In fact, when I came, you were playing a particular song. It seemed very easy. You go and read Tricia Rose, who wrote about American hip-hop, and she would describe to you how even the bass, the bass, how they treat it, and how they produce it in such a way that it's not just a single bass, but you have a bass line, and then you have other attributes adding up. So that bass that you are listening in is in itself a kind of harmony, different types of bass put together. And then the other sound, how they are created. Dave, we don't have these.
Technology, we don't have it.
Not that we don't have it, but then a few people who call themselves producers would like us to believe that what they are giving us is the best. Because you see, it's commercialization. And what happened is that when there is nothing, one is good. So that if it happens that we don't have anything, let's produce something, put them in the system. And I don't know if you are aware, somebody like Mark Okrekumante has ever suggested that the government should buy a state-of-the-art studio where we can have this kind of sound. And then he was rubbished. I support him totally. The reason being that the sound treatment itself is part of the art. But when we have some of these boys with just computer in their room, they call them beat makers, and then they punch something and get something, and then they get somebody who is just doing something, and then blah 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 blah, and then they put it in the internet, and then the following morning, and then you have somebody who is so smart, and you see, that's why when you call me, I say, be very careful, because I'm going to say certain things.
Let's say the truth as it is.
Then you have somebody who says he's a publicist, but he's not a publicist. He's only good for branding. And the branding is that apart from the artists wearing certain things and behaving in a particular way, they bought most of these media people. They bought them. And what happened is that if there's any other coming in, they block whichever new that is coming. And then it is only the songs of some particular people which are played. You are a media person, you know what I'm talking about. So, as I was saying, in the absence of nothing, one is good.
It's good.
So that we as a group even don't know the value of what we have. Why we don't know is that these people have succeeded. I mean, this cartel have succeeded in telling us that, look here, we want to be like Americans. What we used to do is a term is for the old. These are all psychological play on our mind, you understand? Now we want to give you the most modern. Now this is the most modern. So listen to this. And then the youth will buy into it and say that, okay, if we can listen to this, then we express modernity. That is when we can socialize. as modern people. And once the youth buy into that, finished. This is our story.
So, what do you make of today? What do you make of today's songs, the music we have of today? What do you make of them?
You see, it's plus and minus. It's plus and minus. We have a few guys, as I was discussing the other time, we have the cultural ambassadors, and then we have those who are also Americanists, who would like to make us believe that they are Americans and all that. But unfortunately, I think the Americanists, these days we also have the Jamaicans. The Jamaicans have taken over. But I'm sorry, I must be pardoned. It saddens my heart. How can we go and take somebody's culture and say that it belongs to us? How are these people going to compete with Beanie Man, who was born with it and can rap even when he is just tapped on the shoulder when he's asleep? He will just wake up and start rapping. How can you compete with such a person?
And indeed, to add to what you're saying, if somebody from America, Germany, Britain, whatever comes and says, "Listen, I want to enjoy Ghanaian music,"
where is it?
And we have. I'm not downplaying anything. We're just having a conversation, and we have people who are playing tunes that sound foreign and rapping just like the Americans would do, but in a different language. Is that our culture? Is that what we're selling to the people of the outside world?
That is why I explained to you that a group of people, a cartel, aided and abetted by Charterhouse. I'm sorry. So when you called me, I said, be careful you don't push me into, because it's that kind of group which have made us believe that if you want to look like a modern Ghanaian, this is the kind of sound you have to listen to. This is the kind of sound you have to associate with. These are the kind of artists. Because if you go ahead and you give such artists awards, you are telling the people that they are the best, and automatically they will associate with them. And as they associate with them, that is what is the in thing now.
What are the effects of we throwing away our typical Ghanaian music?
We are delaying our development.
It's delaying our development.
Yes, we are delaying our development.
In what sense?
Because you see, development is creativity. So once we have this type of development, at least as a group of people, the way we create things are now stalled, or maybe it's now slow. Okay, so these people will convince us that, okay, this is the best. But I believe that another generation will come and they'll say, no, let's go back to what we used to be doing. And when that time comes, that is when they will have to continue from what the old people used to be doing. Meanwhile, if we had had that consciousness of moving forward, we would have moved, at least we would have by now would have been able to present one or two artists out there like Osibisa, who will be appreciated by everybody, every culture, that this is unique. But not people who are behaving like Westerners, and then they manage some nominations. As to how they manage nominations, whatever, that's another story. You understand? But they manage some nominations and that sort of thing. And that's what I'm saying, that look, it is a cultural discourse all of us must be involved in. Let us be very, very careful. But I think if we go this way, we are seriously losing it.
Let's talk about clothing now. And I'm glad that you're wearing a smock.
Yeah.
And at least,
well, I didn't know I was coming here.
When you were leaving home, because I called you, somewhere around midday.
Yes.
For this conversation. Now, so you wear something. I won't call it Ghanaian. I'll call it, let's say, African, because it's not only seen, in Ghana. It's seen in other parts of Africa.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, it looks as if, again, when you wear some Kunte, for example, anybody can tell where you're coming from. Within Ghana, outside Ghana, we can really tell where you're coming from. But here we are again. It looks as if we've thrown it somewhere, and we're wearing all kinds of things that people would wonder whether we're being to or we're whatever. What happened to our clothing line as well?
It's the same story.
The same story.
The same story. Some fashion companies were just smart. You see, this world is just being smart. Some fashion companies, big companies, some of them international, some of them local, were smart to tell us that if you want to look smart, if you want to look cool, this is how you should go. And that's why I'm saying that we should have cultural gatekeepers and cultural watchers who are all the time. Look, we should have even people who would call them multi-modalists. The pictures that people produce, music video or whatever, they will look at it and analyze and tell you exactly what the effect is going to have on us about 10 years to come. They'll be able to do that. We don't have such people here. So with time, after the independence, as I'm saying, these people have been able to tell us that you have to wear coats before you have to look like European, and this is what has been happening. Unfortunately or fortunately, there's another development in Europe and in America, which were developed by Ghanaians. It's a theory developed by Ghanaians. We call it Afropolitanism. Selassie and our own Joe Appiah, the son of Joe Appiah, his is cosmopolitanism. They have written a lot. Now it is a whole theory being studied in the US and then in UK and then in France and then in Germany. Unfortunately, there's no university in Ghana which is studying cosmopolitanism. And what is cosmopolitanism? It's African way of life, our dressing, our music, this conversation that we are having. And these people have been able to push things so much so that if you go to London now, the whites, some of them are interested in wearing what we wear in Africa.
The ones that we are looking down upon.
I am telling you, you see the way they wear they put on some hats, okay, and then they put some beads and all that. If you go to New York, this is happening. Unfortunately for us as a country, or maybe as a continent, we've never taken advantage of this to develop it to higher heights so that we can send them to the whole world, project to the whole world, advertise to the whole world, and make the whole world know that yes, this is uniquely Ghanaian, this is uniquely African. We haven't been able to do that. We still sit here and then.
And indeed, it can fetch us a lot of money.
That is economy.
The economy can fetch us a lot of money.
Just get one artist who is powerful, put him there, and look at the kind of funds that he will bring into the system. Let's develop our fabrics, put them other. You see, when we talk about the economy, we are only talking about those who have studied economics. You see, I was telling you, because this modern world.
Somebody will say, before you think, they've thought.
They have thought. And if we are going to embrace everything, then you see, all that we are doing is to walk straight into their traps.
Well, you are Ghanaian, aren't you?
This is what is
or
happening.
Maybe you are an African.
This is what is
well,
happening.
We're talking about Ghana here because we're in the month of March, and we have declared the month of March the Ghana month. We want to appreciate Ghana. We want to, celebrate Ghana. We want to do everything Ghana. And so this afternoon we have Dr. Peter Arthur with us. Now, Dr. Peter Arthur is a lecturer at the Department of English, K University. He's done a lot of extensive study into the arts, when it comes to music and stuff like that. And that is why he is with us in the Studios of Love 99.5. Now, he appreciates the fact that we've declared the month of March as the Ghana month. He says it's a good thing. And having had this conversation so far, he wants us to change our mindset. And that's how come he says that they are gatekeepers and gate watchers. Unfortunately, we don't even have them in Ghana who would help us, protect what we have, what we can call our own. Unfortunately, when it comes to music, well, we don't have our typical authentic music anymore. Everything is foreign. And that's why I was asking that, for example, if somebody comes from any foreign country and says, listen, I want to listen to Ghanaian music, what are we going to present to that person as a Ghanaian music? Isn't it the same foreign kind of beat with the same kind of rap but in a different language? Isn't that what we're going to give? When it comes to our clothing, we're dressing like them. And we think it is hip, we think it is okay, but we are killing our own identity, killing who we are. And so I was asking on Facebook a while ago, you tell me, which one do you prefer? When there's local food, Ghanaian food, local. So think about it. Let's say abetia, and we'll be talking about some of the foods in a bit. So there's abetia, and there's some noodles, or there's some French fries, or chips. Which one would you prefer? If there's a fried rice, which one would you choose? You would most people will go for the foreign ones, and leave the local foods. Meanwhile, the local foods are the ones that our forefathers ate and grew,
and
they live longer and lived healthy. Here we are. Well, we're doing all manner of things as if we're foreign people. That is not how God created us. So when we come from this very break, we shall be talking about the food bit, but I just want to know from you, which one do you prefer? Do you prefer dressing like an African or a Ghanaian, or you prefer dressing like a foreigner, somebody from the West, or the Europe? What kind of music do you want to listen to? The European kind of music or the Ghanaian kind of music? When it comes to food, which one do you prefer? Let's hear from you. Go onto Facebook. Let's hear from you. And do you think that we still have our identity intact, or from where you sit and from what you can tell and observe, we have lost our identity? Because right now, even when it comes to language, spoken language, we are slanging. Some people call it lafa. We locally acquired foreign accent. We are slanging, all because we want to be like them. How about who you really are? Why don't you appreciate it? When we return, well, we'll talk some more.
Mami money ejuma. Udanya ye fe.
Mira me da say. Na esomo ye no na aka o.
I know the any ho mami.
Osobroche. Adia efe na nka ewom. Eno saa no eprawa nya ya. Fa unsabe wo mani. Odonti niwe anya he. Hey atambe. Nasu ni mo bra. Adi obo hu a on test car yenya na mo. Osobroche fansabe wo mani. Fansabe wo mani. Odonti niwe anya he. Iwe anya he wa. Odonti menya tambe. Menya tambe. Nasu ni mo bra. Asobroche misle unswaya mamensa ababawa fe pa won fe da
To wrap up our conversation. Now, what do you like about Ghana? Especially when it comes to our music, our food, and our clothing. Do you really fancy it, or you don't appreciate or fancy it? You prefer the foreign ones? So you go out there, and you want to eat everything foreign, from continental to Chinese. You don't even ask for anything local. You want to dress well. You wear clothing to show as if, well, you have been to, or
you have arrived.
You have arrived, and the kind of music we listen to now, we want to listen. I'm not saying that the kind of songs we have around here we should condemn them. No. But if we have a combination of the typical about our food. And again, when it comes to food or our meals, it looks as if we don't like ours. The ampesi, they will say it's too difficult to chew. The abetia, well, we look down upon it. Again, is it the same thing that has made us decide not to like our food? Because we're Africans. And as Africans and the kind of physique we have, these are the kind of food that we need to be eating, because that's where God placed us. And these are the things we ought to be eating. And yet, we're changing our style.
See, I told you that somebody would like you to like his culture, and then he adds what you call status. So whatever that you do concerning that culture constitutes a status symbol. So you wear what he wears, status. You eat what he eats, status. So what it means is that if you can select those kind of dishes, then of course you are in that same class as those people. And this is the deal. So that what it means is that if you say, I'm going to eat abetie, then they will just sneer. No. Face the wall. They'll give it a name. I'm going to eat, let's say, nichimono. Hey! Then they start laughing. Or you understand what I'm trying to say? All these are serious indictments on the identity of the Ghanaian. Because if we cannot appreciate what we have, if we cannot appreciate what we do, if we cannot appreciate and consume what we produce, How are we going to go as a group of people? But then, as I'm saying, because when we take that of the West, it becomes a status symbol. All of us would like to give that kind of appearance that we have arrived. So we eat fried rice, all right? we eat. Today, you and I know that these things are killing us. Why can't we stop? Can you compare fried rice to, let's say, nuhu? I don't know how they call it.
The nuhu, yeah.
Yes, they know. Can you compare the two? You understand? Or let's say you have kutombrengkwine, that green. Now they call it abunebunu. And you see, even when the restaurant started using ebunebunu, you see that one is also now a status symbol. So maybe what we should do is to push most of these to the restaurant, give them a touch of class, and they will also achieve that status symbol. And until we do that, we will still patronize these Western dishes.
Do you foresee hope that things will get better?
Oh, yes.
Now, I'm asking this because,
yes.
Trust me, when you go around many of the schools, and I'm talking about, let's say, international or private schools, when you ask children about nuhu, most of them don't even know about
they don't know
nuhu.
anything like that.
When they don't know jack about it.
No.
So when you say that there's hope in the future, where's the hope going to come from? Because they themselves are not aware of it. How much more can they, transfer it to their children? They don't know about it.
We will hit the wall. We will definitely hit the wall. There will be let me go back to the Arab Spring. I'm very sure the old ones, they never thought that one day the young ones will get up and then come up with that revolt. The same thing, I'm not saying the same proportion, but the same thing could happen here. I'll tell you one story, and it happened with the rap that we are talking about. In the early 2000s, if you went to London or any of the British, it became so much in vogue. Then these kids, they were not taught how to speak Twi. So they came and accused their parents that, look, I like this song, but I can't sing it. And today, as I'm speaking, all the Ghanaians now teach their kids how to speak Twi. That's the development.
But even here in Ghana, most
you hit the wall, and then you do the right thing.
But Doc, I mean, even here in Ghana, not necessarily be in the UK or in the US or wherever. Here in Ghana, many people are not even teaching their children, Twi or Ga. They're all speaking English at home.
Very sad, because sometimes the kind of English that they are teaching the kids are not the best. So those of us who teach them, we get to know. So you have to correct it. All in the name of status symbol. Because if you can do that, people make you think, people believe that, okay, you come from high class and that sort of thing. It's deception. That's what I'm saying. I'm calling for that discourse. If all of us will gather and talk about it, people will be educated, and some of these things will go down.
Well, let's pick some calls now, and you can join our conversation on 0322083596. As Ghanaians, are we losing our identity, or have we lost our identity? Because almost everything we do looks more foreign than Ghanaian, from our music to what we wear to what we eat. Everything about us. And I recall last week when we were having a conversation, talking about the coronavirus, where our businessmen are not able to go to China. Toothpick cry is going to run out on the market.
Is it not crazy? We'll have bamboo all over.
Hi, good afternoon.
Bernie,
Kofi.
how are you?
Kofi, I'm well. Let's hear your thoughts on the issue.
But I want to ask, do we have something called Ghanaian identity? The doctor in the studio has talked extensively, but he was not able to come out with one common thing that will identify us as Ghanaian. He talked about culture. Yes, our culture identifies us as being a grouping from an ethnic background. Now, if you have all Americans, irrespective of the state they may come from, in Kumasi, by their accent and by their faces, you can identify them as Americans. If you have 4 Indians in Kumasi, by their accent and by their faces, you can identify them as Indians. The same way for Chinese in Kumasi, you can identify them by their language, by their faces. What can you identify if one Ashanti, one Totna, one Ga, one Voltarian found themselves in America? What one thing can identify them as Ghanaians? Let your panel member tell us.
Okay, I hear you, Kofi, but indeed, some of the tribal marks will tell you something. The clothing will tell you something. The language will tell you something.
But the answer is simple.
I'll come to you shortly, so give him that answer for me. That simple answer. Godfrey, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Dave. Yeah, you see, talking about food, for example, I don't know what is so nutritious about foreign food that can be compared to, say, fufu and abempai, emuto, chidet. I don't know of any foreign food that is better than any of these ones. So I don't see how I would prefer, for if I go to any event and there is fufu, there is chidet, I would rather choose that than go and choose any foreign food. And when it comes to music, you see, music, it depends on what type of music you are talking about. For example, I enjoy religious music from Don Moen, but I